And if you can develop independent learners who are able to go out and get the knowledge they need, regardless of the area of learning, subject area, that is where you can really unlock great potentials in children. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulihil Kareem. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. We're back after a gap, and we will continue our series of the differences between a factory model school that we see all around us and the ILM model as espoused by Unity International School. So we covered some of the differences already. And today what we'll be talking about is very central to the entire model. And why it's also very central is that there is a prophetic beauty to that model. And the difference that arises is whether a school is teacher-centric or learner-centric. So teacher-centric school, which is most factory model schools, where the teacher is at the center of everything. She carries the burden. She is the one who knows all. She is the one who is the authoritarian figure. And all the children are supposed to simply follow her lead and generally just regurgitate what she has fed them. So this is a very industrialized approach, just like a foreman and his team, or in any construction project where you will see the engineer and then everyone else following his lead. So this is a similar sort of construction. And whereas the learner-centric approach focuses on the learner and from their perspective. So it's about the perspective of the people involved. Teaching-centric approach is from the teacher's perspective. Learner-centric approach is from the learner's perspective. So even when you come up with your objectives of what is to be achieved in this classroom, even that is based on which perspective you choose. So generally, a teaching-centric objective would be, I will teach my kids to do so and so. Whereas a typical learner-centric approach is the students will be able to accomplish so and so. So this is not just a semantic difference. This is a very fundamental difference on how we are actually approaching learning. And the reason that's so important is that naturally a student is a learner. A child is a learner naturally, and they don't need to be convinced to learn. They want to learn. They have a curiosity to learn. And when you have a learner-centric approach, basically your approach is to encourage that curiosity and spark that interest, inspire them to learn, which is the natural way to do things. So basically, it's also the approach of a gardener or a carpenter. So a seed has the ability to grow into a fruit-bearing tree, but nobody stuffs a tree into a seed. You see, no one stuffs a mango tree into a mango seed. Rather, you plant it in the right environment, you give it the right nurturing, you water it, you take care of it, and it blossoms, it blooms, it grows, and it bears fruit. Similarly, a child needs the right environment to learn and grow. This should be a learning-centric environment. A teaching-centric approach would imply that the teacher is stuffing something inside this child, which is obviously wrong. So, in fact, this reminds me of a little anecdote. When I was in school, used to go to Khartoum American School in Sudan, Africa, and my father once came for a PTM, and he met the superintendent. The superintendent is superior to the principal, And his name was Mr. Eng. He was a Chinese American. And he said something which stuck with my father, and then later my father told me that this is what he said. And this is something we strongly believe in. He said, Mr. Zuberi, there is no such thing as teaching. There's only learning. So then, who is a teacher? Well, then the teacher's role is redefined in a teaching-centric versus a learning-centric environment. In a teaching-centric environment, the teacher is know-it-all. She is the sage on the stage. She is the one who imparts all knowledge. She cannot be wrong. She has to control everything. She has to carry all the burden. Whereas in a learning-centric environment, the teacher is a facilitator. She's a guide by the side. She's a guide by the side. She's alongside the children. She's learning herself. There's a process of discovery for her as well. And she encourages the children to question, to discuss, to explore and research and come up with their own answers rather than providing, canned responses and canned answers. So she encourages divergent thinking rather than convergent thinking. And that leads us to our next point as the difference in the delivery of information. So in a teaching-centric environment, there are words and lectures, there are textbooks and syllabus, and you have to complete the syllabus, and you cannot veer left or right. You have to follow this railroad track. Whereas with a learning-centric environment, learning is more open. It's more hands-on. It's activity-based. Children are completely engrossed in that learning environment. It's interactive. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of collaboration. There's teamwork. There's learning from each other, bouncing ideas off one another. Wrong answers are not condemned. In fact, they're further dug into. Why did you come up? Why did you think that this was the right answer? What is your reasoning behind it? Then they explain their reasoning. So a lot of critical analysis is taking place there. A lot of research and inquiry, metacognition and problem solving is taking place there. A lot of organization of thoughts, clarity of thoughts, communication, and all these skills are being learned and developed because of a learning-centric environment that is not pedantic, it's not didactic, it's not stuffy and claustrophobic. Similarly, the assessment and evaluation model is different for both. Whereas for a teaching-centric environment, you have your base, paper pencil-based assessments, exams, tests after a certain amount of time, where their rote knowledge is tested mainly. What was written in the book, you have to basically regurgitate or remember there and then dump it over here, and that's what you get a score on. Whereas in a learning-centric environment, through observation and through rubrics, through criteria being set and discussed between the students and the teachers, what you are able to achieve is you're able to gauge and assess and evaluate various skills and various approaches to knowledge. So their critical thinking can be gauged, their collaboration, their ability to work with others can be gauged and be assessed and be evaluated. Their presentation skills can be evaluated, their research skills can be evaluated, their writing skills can be evaluated. There's so many abilities of the child, and then their character can also be evaluated. What sort of character qualities do they have? So a learning-centric environment allows that to happen. What else we find in the difference between a learning-centric approach and a teaching-centric approach is that there's more flexibility and customization in a learning-centric approach. So whereas in a teaching-centric approach, the curriculum is very set in stone. It's hard and fast, and there's no crossover, there's no overlaps. You're following a certain track, and that's all you do. In a learning-centric environment, it allows for the teacher to be creative, to use other avenues, to combine various areas of knowledge, do projects, do more hands-on activities, maybe give them different sorts of assessments. Maybe a drama, a play can be a sort of assessment that who has mastered this vocabulary most, etc. Similarly, another major difference between the two is their long-term goals versus short-term goals. So teaching-centric environments generally have very short-term goals. You have to pass the test, you have to pass the class, that's it. Whereas in a learning-centric environment, the goals are much bigger. They're lifelong goals. So lifelong love for learning, independent learners, critical thinkers, ability to solve problems in life, empathy, other life skills and human skills are part of the lifelong goals. And if you can develop independent learners who are able to go out and get the knowledge they need, regardless of the area of learning, subject area, that is where you can really unlock great potentials in children. So let's all prefer the learning-centric approach, although that does not discard or discredit the teacher. The teacher's role is as important in the learning-centric environment. Only thing is she's not carrying all the burden. She's letting the children share the burden and grow as people. So the right approach would be a sort of balance where the teacher still is in charge of the class. She's still the adult there, and all the children respect her and are tied to her. However, she is not dictating the flow of learning. She is allowing learning to take place at their pace. She is allowing the curriculum to be tailored to the individual child, as we discussed in the last video, and she is allowing every child to reach their potential and challenging the ones that need challenges and supporting the ones that need support.